Hi and welcome back to Movies Reloaded. Today we have a great recapped movie for you, so sit back and relax and enjoy the film. An introverted programmer longs to understand the purpose of life. His boss assigns him a significant project one day, which he completes before meeting two individuals who will forever alter his course. Qohen, who resides in a church and addresses himself in the third person, completes his project for Mankom, the business where he works. He grabs his ringing phone with haste but is disappointed when the call isn't what he was hoping for. He then gets ready for work and opens his tightly locked door. As he moves down the street, he is greeted by the vibrant hues and boisterous sounds of the urban city outside. The overstimulated man avoids people while he waits for the bus while suffering from a headache. A call confirms that Qohen's health examination will take place later at Mankom. When his boss Joby arrives, he orders him to cancel because he needs to turn in a project, but unexpectedly, Qohen does so. He has been anxiously awaiting a call at home, which makes him dread working on site, but Joby doesn't take it seriously. The supervisor responds by promising to try to assist the programmer after the programmer makes a threat to report to management. Later at the appointment, Qohen says he needs a disability leave to work from home because he is dying. Qohen claims that his hair fell out, but a doctor notes that all of his tests show that he is in perfect health. They say that it's normal, turn down his request for reasonable accommodation, and then direct him to an AI therapist. When Qohen gets back to work, Joby extends an invitation to a party so that he can meet with management and discuss his issues. The socially awkward man declines the invitation because he hates parties, but his boss insisted that he go. Qohen shows up at the location later that evening, and Joby extends an invitation to the strange party to him. The worried man goes straight to management, but his boss tells him to enjoy himself before leaving. A woman soon approaches the awkward man and makes flirtatious moves, but he ignores her. Someone accidentally pushes him into a dark room as he attempts to avoid the dancing crowd. He takes a seat quietly but is startled to see management occupying the chair across from him. Qohen then expresses his desire to work from home in order to avoid missing the call that will reveal his life's purpose. He is referred to as insane by management, and the programmer dejectedly adjourns the meeting. As Qohen departs the gathering, he runs into Joby. Qohen mentions and discusses management in front of others, so Joby shovels food into his employee's mouth, causing him to choke on a grape. He is attempting to move the grape in another room when management makes another appearance and offers him a project. He is about to choke when the woman from earlier intervenes. While the lady waits for him, he takes a breath and goes to the restroom. He opens the door for her, but he is surprised when she unexpectedly uses the restroom. After that, Qohen runs outside to find management but discovers that he has vanished. She introduces herself as Bainsley, and the man thanks her for saving his life. She inquires about his job a short while later, to which he replies that it involves crunching large amounts of numerical data. Qohen finds himself in an uncomfortable circumstance, so he makes an excuse and departs. The next day at work, Qohen studies a number that was written on his hand. Unexpectedly, Joby sends him home to work on management's covert project to demonstrate the Zero Theorem, which calls for him to demonstrate that 0 equals 100%. Joby admits that when he was younger, he also worked on it but gave up after 3 weeks. Soon after, the manager directs his employee to the neural net Mancrive, which serves as the hub of management's operations. He meets Bob, a summer intern who goes by Bob, and introduces him to the others. The project software is then given to Qohen, who is informed that Joby might not finish it before leaving for home. Qohen tirelessly works all day at home and frequently uploads information for submission. When the entities don't crunch, he repeats the project several times over the course of the months. Mankom calls him frequently and begs him to turn in the information before the deadline. The programmer, who has been working non-stop for so long, fails the project once more. He checks his progress again but has to start over because he only got to 97% rather than 100%. He calls his therapist a short while later, but when she asks what makes him happy, Qohen doesn't respond. He starts to complain about the entities that won't stay crunched when he receives a call about his next upload. He claims he only wants to hear his call before the therapy session ends after the therapist attempts to calm him down. The next morning, Qohen is startled awake by memories of the tense work calls. He strikes a match and remembers how, during the party, Bainsley flirted with him and extended an invitation to her home. She scrawls her phone number on his hand after his awkward refusal. Qohen is still working at the moment, his arm turning red from stress-induced scratching after more failed attempts. He continues to receive spam update calls, so out of annoyance he uses a hammer to smash his phone and computer. After noticing the broken monitor, Joby visits Qohen the following day and inquires as to what transpired. The programmer rants about how the entities are acting strangely and uploading data slowly as a result. The manager switches out the monitor and promises to give the stressed-out employee another chance. Later, Joby unpredictably confesses that he is missing him. Qohen continues to complain about the call and the seemingly impossible to prove zero theorem. A short while later, Joby clarifies that nothing adds up to anything and that Qohen is on the verge of understanding the theorem. He promises him he'll help before leaving, but asserts that if he doesn't unwind, Qohen won't get the call. Later that night, Bainsley shows up at Qohen's door dressed as a revealing nurse and informs him that she waited for his call but didn't get any. Qohen discovers she is the friend Joby had previously mentioned when she continues by saying that Joby was right about him needing her. Qohen becomes distracted by her body when she leans forward to look at his belongings while Bainsley surveys the chapel. He explains that the lovely red couch she finds is a gift after she finds it. Before noticing his workspace, she approaches him and touches him in a flirtatious manner. When Bainsley suddenly hurts her nail while fiddling with the keyboard, Qohen quickly runs to get a first aid kit. He stops when she asks him to kiss her finger, and he reluctantly does so. She protests that it isn't a proper kiss and shows him by briefly demonstrating with his finger how it is done. On the monitor, Qohen's therapist abruptly appears, explaining that her issues with paternal abandonment are the only reason why she is acting in this way. Before admitting her father passed away, Bainsley closes the therapist's tab in a furious manner. A few seconds later, she takes off her wig to reveal her blonde hair and says she avoids copulation because it's risky. When the man loses his ability to speak, Bainsley requests a snack. Bainsley notices him staring at her again as she cleans the kitchen a short while later, but she doesn't object. While doing the dishes, she inquires about the nature of the phone call, and Qohen, weary of defending himself, sits down. She gets up and asks what happened after she sits on his lap, and he begs her to stop. He describes how, in order to stand out, he stopped yearning for sexual activity and alcohol. He got a call one day that, if he accepted the offer, he thought would give him a reason to live. He dropped the call, though, and is now waiting for a call back. Bainsley claims she can assist because she wants to learn more about him, but only if he stays. The next morning, Bob knocks on Qohen's door and pleadingly asks to use the restroom as soon as possible. The boy bursts in abruptly and rushes to the restroom. The man asks Bob how he managed to open his tightly locked door, and Bob can only say that he used magic. A short while later, two men arrive at the chapel and force Qohen to sign a document stating that Bob has been delivered to his home and will be picked up shortly. Qohen begs the boy to stop calling him Bob after the men have left, so the boy chooses to call him Q instead. Soon after, Bob instructs him to place a pizza order and informs him that his father, management, had told him to assist Qohen with the project. Bob grumbles later about the cameras his father installed throughout the workspace to keep an eye on Qohen as he uses the computer. The boy continues that Qohen cannot abandon the project and that Joby and Bainsley are hired guns for the benefit of management, but Qohen objects because Bainsley pledged to assist. Then, the man remembers the time Bainsley showed him a VR suit, one of his projects that interface with the brain directly. She gives him a suit, instructing him to put it on at midnight before leaving the chapel and visiting her website. Bob makes a deal that he won't get Qohen's call unless the project is finished. The pizza shows up before the surprised man has a chance to respond. Bob takes a bite and gives the remainder to Qohen because he must leave, but he will return tomorrow. The boy advises Qohen to put her trust in him before the two men go back to get Bob. Qohen dons the outfit Bainsley gave him that evening. He connects it to the computer, navigates to her website, and selects the Enter Their Imagination button. He finds himself at a beach picnic with Bainsley and all of a sudden has hair. She claims that because they are in their minds, he is free to do whatever he wants in this world. When Qohen objects that she is kissing his neck, she responds that their connection is made possible by memory chips in their computers. She then motions for Qohen to join as she runs to the shore and throws him a beach ball. He grabs the ball and follows her into the water, where he plays until he unexpectedly drowns. He is discovered underwater and brought to the shore when Bainsley turns around and notices he has vanished. She gives CPR up until Qohen envelops her before they start to kiss passionately. Before they kiss once more, Bainsley replies that he isn't supposed to die here when the man asks if he can. Back in the real world, Qohen confides in his therapist his misgivings about entrusting Bob with his care. When he realizes that the boy hacked the program, his therapist shockingly raps a song and assures him that Bob is a genius. The following morning, Bob questions Qohen about why he uses the plural form of his name and explains that the therapist is a tool for him. According to Qohen, a former therapist recommended it to feel more human. Soon after, Bob says that Qohen is the subject of management's attention because of how much he works. The young boy then writes with chalk on the walls of the chapel, explaining that Qohen's task is to demonstrate that the universe will soon collapse into nothing. Bob responds that it's nothing to worry about because nothing is perfect when Qohen immediately stops him and inquires about how he can possibly believe such a terrible thing. Bob explains that his father has tried to get him to work on the theorem, but he has consistently refused because it is Qohen's responsibility. He chooses to order a pizza that evening while Qohen is at work. He puts on his VR suit once more after eating to meet Bainsley online. Once more at the shore, he runs into Bainsley. She asks him to take them to a special place in virtual reality because he seems troubled as they observe the fake sunset that never fully sets. While he struggles, they are propelled into space and come dangerously close to a black hole in Qohen's gloomy and lifeless mind. As the darkness engulfs them and draws them back to the beach, Bainsley yells at him to stop. Bainsley kisses Qohen and tells him to trust her because she can help after seeing his true mental state. He gives her a kiss in return and tells her they can do whatever they want in the virtual reality, but Bainsley disagrees because management won't permit it. Qohen insists he'll quit his job if management forbids him from being with her, and he keeps kissing Bainsley. He immediately pushes her away, disconnecting from the VR cord and computer, electrocuting himself. The following day, Qohen shouts at Bob to be quiet as he works on his VR suit while listening to music. Bob answers the call indignantly after Qohen ignores the call from the man's phone. The caller informs me that Qohen's next data upload is already due, but I can tell that he is still working on it. Immediately after assisting him with the data upload, Bob departs to fix the VR suit. The following evening, Qohen goes back to Bainsley's website and discovers offensive remarks made by other men as Bainsley strips off his clothes. She sees Qohen, but he leaves the website before she can explain. He is troubled because he remembers Bob saying that management is paying Bainsley to keep him in line. He goes back to the website after that, but access is suddenly denied. His mind is distressed as it starts to give in to its emptiness. A few weeks later, Bob introduces Qohen to the VR suit for fixed soul searching at the chapel. The boy admits that the call Qohen is anticipating is entirely fictitious. Then Bob uses the computer to make a phone call to the therapist and gives her permission to tell the truth. The therapist apologizes because management instructed her to deceive him and ignore his mental illness. Bob consoles the grieving man by telling him that even though he doesn't like the truth, he must accept it. The two wonder if they ordered pizza when the doorbell unexpectedly rings. Upon opening the door, Qohen is met by a dejected Bainsley. She recognizes Bob, the son of management, who he introduces to her after he blithely extends an invitation to enter. After that, Bainsley sobs and offers an explanation, saying that Joby had promised to give her the VR suit if she cooperated. Although Qohen lies and says he was never lonely, she did it because he was lonely. Bob claims that a girl as attractive as she is wouldn't want a man like Qohen after recognizing her from the website. Bainsley, however, admits that she has feelings for him. Qohen moves away from her and declares that the man who cherished her in the VR was a different person. She inquires as to his source of fear, but he dismisses her by accepting the apology in the hopes that management will find a replacement for her. Bainsley mentions that her van, which is outside and contains all of her belongings, is dejected. She invites Qohen to flee with her, but he adamantly declines because he must return to his job. She craves his company and tries to persuade him by promising they'll travel to a genuine tropical island. While Bainsley is hugging him, Qohen stiffens and starts to cry. She somberly exits the chapel as he continues to refuse despite his conflicted emotions. After the difficult conversation, Bob persuades Qohen to accompany him to the park and listen to music as they stroll down the street. In response to Bob's question at the park, Qohen says that he did have a girlfriend when he was close to Bob's age. They even got married, but they later got divorced and lost touch. Soon after, Bob confesses that he doesn't know any young women and worries about growing older because adults always do the same dull things. Then, when he asks for money to buy food, Qohen gives it to him as Bob laments the loss of Bainsley. The man considers what Bainsley said earlier about fleeing together now that he is by himself. Bob is shocked to hear Qohen use the singular pronouns for the first time back at the church. Bob suddenly becomes weak, and Qohen observes a fever, so he hastily makes the boy a cold bath. Later, Bob nods off while bathing, and Qohen tries to carry him over to the couch. He knocks into the mirror, breaking it and exposing a hidden camera. He moves Bob to the sofa and then uses a hammer to smash the camera. A short while later, he violently destroys every other hidden camera in his house and blocks the main door of the church with benches from the chapel. When he gets back to Bob, the two men suddenly burst into his home to get the boy, insisting that Qohen had made a grave error. The moment they carry Bob outside, they inform him that his supervisor has been informed of his misdeeds and that they will remove his computer the following day. Later that evening, Joby visits Qohen because he is upset about losing his job as a result of him. Joby insults Qohen angrily and then walks away after hearing that he is management's tool. After that, Qohen enters the program on the computer while wearing Bob's recently repaired soul-searching VR suit. He is abruptly electrocuted by the cord and awakens at the neural net Mancrive. He views the live feed from his home camera on the neural net Mancrive's covert cameras. Suddenly, management states that Bob has been ill ever since, after which they demonstrate to Qohen his empty imagination and explain how the reality has remained constant throughout. Qohen eventually chose to lead a meaningless life after waiting for the call that would have given him a purpose in life for so long. Consequently, it was the ideal candidate for management's experiment. Following a blunt declaration that they no longer require him, management abruptly vanishes. Qohen snaps in anger, smashing the monitors with a hammer and ripping out all the cables from the center. Thousands of photos with his memories of Bainsley floating inside them are revealed as the black hole is suddenly revealed when the wires instantly connect back to the center and the device explodes. He decides to fall into the vortex after turning around to leave. He is depicted as being by himself at the beach's edge. He sees the beach ball in the water and throws it into the air as he observes the setting sun. The sunset is then caused by him approaching the sun. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Let us know in the comments what you thought. And while you're here, consider subscribing. We would love to have you as part of our community.